And here we are again on a Tuesday afternoon. Well, Tuesday. Do they have Tuesdays on Gallifrey? We don't know, do we? We'll never know the answers to these questions. Hello. Whatever time zone or time stream that you're in, it is time for Type 40 Live this week. Coming at you from out of the vortex, as always. It's a little bit like Svartos out there at the moment, which is fairly apt because we're going to be talking a lot today about the Sylvester McCoy era. We're going to be going back to the late 1980s. And yes, when was that? That was an autumn. Yes, autumn 1987 in particular, to talk about that and reminisce a little bit with lots of friends and fellow fans, whoever's in the chat, and my guests here on the panel today. Back again. 7 days, they fly by, don't they? How are you? How are you all? Let's have a look. Let's see who's joined us already. We Megan Eurobite getting into the spirit early with Build High for Happiness. Build high for happiness. I can't do. What's the sign? How does the hand sign go? I can't remember. Can't do the how you do. Is it? Yeah, we want a how you do. That was it, wasn't it? Hello, everybody. Hi, Rebecca Gold. Rebecca Gold in two places at once. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte out there. And Christian Basil in on the clock. Make me believe there's sanity left in the Hooniverse. Well, I can't promise that, but I can promise a few laughs, lots and lots of Doctor Who talk. Nonsense, a few we'll see which little time eddies we can jump in and jump back out of along the way. Hi, Rosie says this. Rosie's got the back seat this time. Who else is here? David Kilner. Hello, David. That's a new name. I don't think I've seen you before here, but yeah, whoever you are, welcome. And Jonathan Cox back too. Hi, Jonathan. And yes, we are broadcasting, as always, to the Type 40 Facebook group, as well as over on YouTube, but also for the first time, the Type 40 Facebook page. Now, if you are over on Facebook watching this, fantastic, welcome, get involved and drop us a comment, but we aren't always able to see who you are unless you tell StreamYard who you are. They can't tell us, but you are welcome. Please don't take it personally if we don't address you by name, or if I don't. Who am I? I forgot to mention, haven't I? I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks and the Type 40's designated driver, as always. And I do have some friends with me. Shall I drop him in while he's not looking? Let's see. Let's bring on. We've got a couple of Ians for you today, so I think I should bring in one Ian straight off the bat. Ian David Dears, the Mega Geek. Welcome back.
Hello. I'm back.
Hello. You keeping warm? You keeping safe and warm, mate?
Yeah, it is quite cold out there, actually, and I am keeping warm, very, very warm. Yeah. Okay, we're talking about Sylvester Stallone today. Not Sylvester Stallone. I wish we were. Sylvester McCoy.
Or you could talk about whichever Sylvesters that you like. Yes, back to the 1980s, between 1987 and 1989. Of course, Sylvester McCoy was the Doctor, and it's been all about the 80s this week, right across Doctor Who, because Russell T Davies has been taking a lot of the Doctor Who audience back to the 80s with It's a Sin. We talked about that last week on the show. It's had a big impact. So that's good to see. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. And yes, Sylvester McCoy, that very first season. We're going to talk about that in a little moment. Who else? Yes, we've got several Sylvester McCoy fans lined up. In fact, let's bring in number one. Yes, it's Barnaby Jago. Welcome back, Barnaby. Okay.
Very good, thank you. Very good to see you, Dan, and you, Ian. How you all doing?
You're a huge fan, aren't you?
Sorry, I do. He's not my favorite Doctor, but I'm a big fan of his sort of series, particularly the second one with the whole. I was one of the few people who was sort of enjoying the sort of Cartmel master plan. And I loved looking into that sort of thing. The mystery was coming back, particularly with Merlin and all these other sort of things, and the Silver Nemesis and stuff like that. I also love the design of those Cybermen. This is his second series, but the cricket gloves, love those.
Yes, the great big fingers. They look like hot dog rolls, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm gonna go bowling with them. Actually, whenever I played cricket as a kid, I would pretend I was one of those Cybermen. Yeah, it was that sad. Yeah.
We were deemed sad, weren't we? If we liked Doctor Who, so we had to keep it secret. That we liked Doctor Who. Yeah.
Is Sylvester's Doctor in your cosplay repertoire, though, Barnaby?
Oh, yeah. First time I ever came on one of those streams, I came in one of his...
the jumper.
In his jumper, yes. I still need the coat, the umbrella, and the hat, but I do have the trousers somewhere. But I've always wanted the umbrella. The umbrella would be awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, Jodie. Jodie McWilliams is back here. She was with us last week.
80s
Hello.
were the real deal.
The 80s were indeed the real deal. None of us are going to Barnaby wasn't even there, and even he agrees with this. And I suspect that the guy I'm going to bring in now, I suspect he agrees too. What do you think, JT? Were the 80s the real deal?
Jelly baby. The 80s were the real deal. If you weren't there, you're a stale mince pie. I can assure you. Good afternoon, Space Bookers. Hello.
Here he is. Cheers. Are you keeping nice and warm there in your den? What would you call
that?
No,
I'm freezing. I'm absolutely freezing. But build high for happiness, folks. Build high for happiness.
Yes, let's crack open a tin of Fizz Aid each, shall we? If this is your first time,
yeah, Fizz Aid, yeah.
If this is your first time here, this is the best channel that you'd never heard of. This is the Spacebook, where we talk about Doctor Who every Tuesday afternoon over the last couple of months, really, with very few weeks off. It's our regular, casual, talky live streams from the same people who put out the Type 40 Doctor Who podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network, where we explore all the worlds, all the characters, all the dimensions, in fact, almost all the dimensions, come to think of it, of the world's longest running science fiction series, Doctor Who. And this time we've got a guest aboard. Now, this gentleman, he's become, in the last few years, he's become synonymous with another British science fiction series in what he does as Cygnus Alpha events. So he staged a lot of Blake 7 events over the last 4 or 5 years. So I've spoken to him over on Teleport, which is the Blake 7 podcast that we put out. That's also on the channel. There'll be a plug for that a little bit later on. But here he's here today. He's here to talk about Doctor Who with us now. So I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to teleport him in. There we are. Welcome aboard, Ian Kubiak.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
hello.
Well, welcome. Yes, how could we talk about Sylvester McCoy and not invite you?
Indeed.
You're a massive fan of Sylvester's as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So, gosh, I mean, I remember season 24. I was 6. So, and Sylvester McCoy was Doctor Who for me, and I've been very lucky enough to meet him lots of times and interact with him and interview him at events, and he's just an amazing guy. And I think that whole Sylvester McCoy era of Doctor Who is a very magical thing.
Oh,
it has its own flavour about it, doesn't it? Just like all eras of Doctor Who do, I think it's probably fair to say. But sometimes I think with 30 years hindsight, it was such an intense time for the show as well, between 87 and 89. As I'm sure lots of you will remember out there, it was a very intense time for those working on the show and for those who were watching at home as well. We really didn't know. There was a lot of uncertainty around the show. And on one hand, that wasn't the best place to be in. But at the same point, it sort of made it quite exciting too. I can't quite put my finger on it, because obviously when a show is supported by the BBC and you know it's going to come back every year, that is the ideal. But there was something about it then. You got the feeling that Doctor Who had the blankest canvas it had had in a while. And I don't know. Can you remember the late 80s very much, Ian?
I can remember the 80s, yeah, because I lived through it. So, I remember it very well. Old. Yeah, I know. I actually, my first Doctor, Ian, was John Pertwee. So that tells you how old I am. So, there you go. Yeah,
back a little in time.
The whole thing about when Sylvester came on board was 1987. So his first episode was September the 7th, 1987, with Time in the Rani. But Dan, what you're saying there is interesting, because I'm older than Ian. I was 17 when Sylvester arrived in 1987. So I would actually say that from 1985 onwards, it wasn't actually assured that Doctor Who was going to come back every year, because of course we had the hiatus in 1985, which shook Doctor Who fandom in a way that it's never been shaken before or since yet. And that was a real case of, well, okay, it is going to come back, but then we got shorter seasons. We got 14 episodes of 25 minutes per year, which was a sort of standard format for certain things. Old dramas were going on, 14 weeks at that sort of time, but not necessarily for 25 minutes. So I don't think it was necessarily. It was exciting in a sense, but we were coming on the back of we just had a dismissed actor in the role as the Doctor.
Yep.
We didn't know what was going on. We knew JNT was supposed to go, and then he got forced to stay. We had Andrew Cartmel coming in. So I'm seeing it from a different point of view there. I was seeing it as a very turbulent time for the show.
That's a good word, turbulent.
Totally agree.
24 for me, it was very much. I sat down as a 17-year-old for series 24 and went like that, you know, and only really got captured by Dragonfire.
I agree.
You know, it's weird. But here's Ian coming along saying, as a 6-year-old, it still had that magic, and how lovely it is to hear that from myself. I just love that.
I think it was because I just didn't want to watch Coronation Street.
Yes,
good move.
Yeah, because it was up against Corrie every Monday, wasn't it? Yeah,
can't argue with that. And things did get a bit of a refresh. We talked about the Cybermen a moment ago. Barnaby was talking about the Cybermen. They gave them an extra sort of silvery look, didn't they, for the McCoy era? But we've been sent this week. I think you'll enjoy seeing this one. This is a Cyberman, a unique Cyberman, not so much silvery as snowy.
Hey.
Because over the last week or so, most of the UK, I think, has been hit with snowfall, and we were as prepared as always, which is not even remotely prepared. But this gentleman here, apparently this family, yes, this is from Emma Lee, and she says, my dad, he builds a snowman every year, and he always hopes that we get enough snow that he'll be able to make a big one. And he's never one to just build a standard snowman. So 2021, it is the year of the Cyber Snowman.
Excellent.
I love it. It's very reminiscent of the 60s ones as well, isn't it? Love that.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's just a Telos Cyberman, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it looks great. It looks really good.
I was wondering what had influenced Emma's dad there. I thought it may have been the Silver Nemesis. The artistic influence.
Oh, artistic.
It must have taken him ages to do that, though. It must have.
I know, yeah. You tell people are stuck at home, can't you?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's his good lady wife there. A great British eccentric. That's what I would say about people like this. Great British eccentric.
Lovely.
And we've got lots of memories coming about the Sylvester McCoy here. Problem being a fan of Doctor Who during Sylvester's time didn't make you very popular at school. I got beaten up for dressing up as him for a school fete. I did it because I didn't care what they thought.
How weird is that?
Yeah,
That's weird. And yet everybody was running around with multicolored scarves when Tom was on there. You know, it was a big fashion accessory to an extent. How things changed by 1987.
If there's one thing that tells that speaks of his era, is this.
Yeah,
he used to do that a lot, didn't he?
Oh, but that's just manners. That's just polite. I'm with Silv on that. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just good old-fashioned British manners to raise your hat when you meet somebody. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
And play the spoons as well.
Look, Stephen's just like there. Remember Eureka. Oh, I loved you. And Jigsaw. Do you remember that, Stephen? Megan, you're about. Do you remember that Jigsaw?
I remember that, yes.
Jigsaw with Janet Ellis. Wow.
I used to fancy her so bad.
This does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form at all.
Because although Sylvester wasn't a household name, he was far from an unknown. We all recognised him, didn't we, off TV? I mean, not so much yourself, Ian, being 6 years old, but you might remember having seen him in other shows. You know, Megan Eurobite here talks about Eureka, but he'd been on Tears Wars and so many other things.
Yes, Vision On was I think Vision On was when I noticed him. Yeah.
And of course he was.
I thought he was only known for in what?
He was the Pied Piper on stage, hugely successful show, which JNT saw him in.
At the National Theatre.
At the National, and it was a massive show. You couldn't get tickets really for that show at the time. It was a huge thing for him, and he made that show, I believe.
I was kind of hoping that maybe JNT went into one of his performances where he was putting ferrets down his trousers.
Well,
that would have been a good story.
The casting actually has a sort of because JNT got various people like Clive Doig and some people coming through saying it, and JNT knew about the abilities of Sylvester. Let's say that
his talents, his many talents.
Many.
What is did Sylvester? Did he actually hold the world record for ferrets being stuffed down a pair of trousers in Kubiak? Have you got any idea?
I didn't have the record, but he was.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. Did he have the record?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Those poor ferrets.
Did he get it into double figures? Do you think? What was does anybody know? If you know in the chat, let us know in the comment section. What is the world record for ferrets stuffed down the average pair of trousers? And did they decide? Was there stipulations on the trousers? Could they only be a certain cut? We need to know these things. We definitely need to know. And if you've ever attempted to record yourself,
I don't need to know.
None of those umbrella pants order that MC Hammer wore. You couldn't wear those.
Parachute pants.
That's what they're
the
called,
90s. Yeah. They came in a few years later in the 90s, really, from 1990 onwards. You're a little bit early there. But the great thing about Sylvester, of course, what a physical performance, what a physical entertainer. And he brought that sort of energy to the Doctor that we hadn't necessarily had recently at that point. And it was a very capturing performance. Even if you watch some of the episodes now, whether you like the era or not, he is still recognizable. He did his homework. He was Doctor Who. He eventually got a character built that he wanted. And of course, throughout his 3 years, and we're talking about season 24 now, but compare season 24 to 26, what a development! What a development!
In the theatre, they used to call him the Mighty Atom, wasn't it?
The Mighty Atom.
That is one of his various stage names. I think it's delightful.
Well, he was a born entertainer. I mean, you only have to see him in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, where he's just there. I think he was just there doing his act. Where he's playing the spoons and doing his sort of like juggling thing. Yeah. And he's just a born entertainer. And I think I talked to you, Dan, about some of the extras on the Blu-rays of him just pissing around behind the camera.
Yeah.
And even when the camera stops, he is still being entertaining. He's still trying to entertain the other actors and producers and things. I mean, that is a guy who just like was his craft. He loved his craft, and that
doesn't have an off switch. I know there's one scene in that where he's hanging upside down in what looks like a straight jacket. And Megan Eurobite says the auditions for the McCoy era were interesting, playing off Janet Fielding as Thatcher. Yes, that was a very sort of Happiness Patrol sequence in that audition. I love what Sylvester wears in those audition sequences as well. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have got that, because that's a sort of a proto version of his costume, that too, isn't it? We have that's it, the Human Bomb. Says bomb. Perry's Dirty Laundry. Lovely name, Darren.
Human Bomb,
and we've got Christian Basil. I remember Syl from The Secret Policeman's Other Ball.
Yeah.
3 Kinds of Heat. I remember The Secret Policeman's Balls. Certainly. Yes. I know. Don't go there.
But they were huge, weren't they? They were everywhere. They were even broadcast by the BBC late at night.
Yeah, the balls were broadcast by the BBC.
Yeah. Oh, it wouldn't be today.
No. Certainly wouldn't be. Talking about the BBC. Talking about the BBC and talking about today, I wonder if any of you have seen this picture, and can you guess who it is? Who's that?
Yes, it's John Bishop.
John Bishop with a stupid mask on his face, just probably wondering why he's there in the first place, probably wondering why the show's all about, probably just wondering really.
Yeah, this was something that John Bishop, the newly cast new companion on Doctor Who, so we're told, John Bishop put this out on his Instagram and Twitter a few days ago. He's enjoying the British weather there. That was before the snow came. I thought I'd be able to catch some of you out with that. Yeah. But he's made a statement. It was mostly a plug for his own podcast. Everybody's got a podcast now, you know.
Why?
So he was plugging his own podcast. He's on location with Doctor Who at the moment, where they've all got their own custom masks there. I suspect somebody will monetize that fairly soon. You'll be able to.
Is that where our money's going? To these bloody Seriously.
Well, at least you can tell the ones who aren't employed by the BBC, because we've also had this week too. This was. Do you know who that is?
It's John Barrowman. Well, it actually even says that. Images credit John Barrowman. Because he's doing ITV's Dancing on Ice.
Oh,
yes.
What a surprise!
So he's back in town, as it were.
But I thought that was quite cool. He was cycling around the bay there. And I was there around a year ago because my son lives in Cardiff, and there was JB. So he took snaps of himself at various places, but of course, in incognito, nobody can. Even John Barrowman with a cap on and a mask on. You can't tell it's him. But I thought that was quite sweet. But yeah, absolutely appalling. I know we shouldn't complain about the cold, because when it's hot, we complain about it. It's completely true. If you're not in Great Britain, we complain. We complain whichever the weather is. I think
it's tradition. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Not only do we talk about Doctor Who as fans of Doctor Who within Doctor Who circles, we complain about the weather. We're never happy.
We've got somebody who's quick on the research here. Problem being, says the ferret record holder was Reg Miller, even though it was only 2 ferrets. It was for 5 hours and 20 minutes. And the only
the guy that hired to play the Doctor. Jesus.
The only stipulation was the trousers must have a drawstring and no underwear. Now,
What?
That is brave. Everybody's got the same sort of look on their faces as if to say, "Oh,
not a chance." Yeah.
Yeah,
but they got paid for this, so that's their excuse.
Charlotte says, "You try standing on a playground, gents." She's on lunch duty. Hope you're happy in the new job, Charlotte. Best of luck. Hope you're enjoying it despite the cold.
Yeah.
So Series 24 coming out as that was the big news this week, wasn't it?
It is. We've got that to get into. We've got other stories to get. There's also been another story that broke. It sort of broke, and then it didn't break a couple of days ago because the Sun went with an article. Now, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, the story broke that Jodie Whittaker was to depart Doctor Who, everybody. And once we'd all recovered from 72 to 96 hours in hysterics, in the floods of tears, when the dust started to fall on that, and no statement was put out by the BBC, it did start to seem that obviously there's truth in this. It's not been denied yet. In fact, the rumor is growing and growing all the time. But the Sun printed an article yesterday, on their website, claiming that was nonsense.
Yeah.
Which then, of course, got the people who are upset about Jodie's imminent departure. They were really, really happy, but that article was then taken down within an hour. So yeah, for the people who've been in touch and asked me about that, yes, it did break, and then it was unbroken. So that's where we are with that. It's all gone very, very quiet.
Well, I'm glad if the rumor is true and that she's not leaving. I'm glad she's not leaving, because imagine them putting a really good doctor in and Chinballs was still in charge. Yeah. It'd be even worse, wouldn't it? So, I mean, if she stays, that's good. Chimballs and her, they can carry on destroying the show. You know what I mean?
The thing about the content of the article that appeared on The Sun is it was rehashed material from the last 3 years. It's all been in print.
The name. Just change the name. Peter, but Jodie.
It was all stuff that was done from 2018 onwards in different paragraphs. It was very misleading, so it's no wonder it was pulled.
Yeah.
You're using the words article and the Sun in the same sentence.
That's got a point there. Yeah.
Good one.
Problem being asks, what happened to the Pertwee Blu-rays? We were told we're getting in March.
Yes.
We're still getting them. They're out in a few weeks' time. I think the date, because if you remember the original published date, that was retracted quite soon. So they've held back on that. So they didn't issue an actual final date until they knew they could deliver on it. So it is out. I think it's I've forgotten the date now. We did have it last week.
First week of March.
It is the first week of March. There you go. Ian knows. So yes, though, they are coming. That's an absolute definite. They're still
Monday, March the 8th. It's due out.
Yeah.
Ooh, JT gets one up.
Definitely coming. And yes, but the other thing, apart from speculating about Blu-rays and moaning about the weather, even though we haven't heard any more information about when Jodie is leaving, and we certainly we're some way off finding out who's next, that doesn't stop us from speculating as to who it could possibly be, does it?
He's staying.
We've had lots of conversations about this over the last few weeks, and Ian, you're gonna love this, because our viewers out there on YouTube are getting in touch, and we're getting suggestions dropped into the comment section all the time. This one was from Sam Snoswell, who was in the comment section on YouTube a few days ago, and his suggestion, Sam, was this guy.
Daniel McDonnell.
Mr. Doctor. Now,
I like his scarf.
my reaction at first was very much like yours, because I understand he's mostly a singer, isn't he, Daniel O'Donnell? I've never really heard him sing, but I know he's loved by the nation, isn't he?
He is a singer. He
Yes.
doesn't do anything else. He just sings.
Yeah.
And then I saw this picture. I thought, well, he's got the scarf. He's halfway there to a cosplay, and that kind of looks like the location. That looks like the gardens in the Five Doctors, wouldn't you say?
That's TARDIS been comped in, isn't it? The TARDIS been comped in.
I wonder who did that. Yes, thank you for that suggestion, Sam. Keep them coming, I think. But yes, since this is your first time with us, Ian, I wondered what was your, see, if we are going to get a new Doctor, which direction would you like them to go in? Have you got your eye on an actor or an actress or anybody out there?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the next actor to play the Doctor, me. I'll do it.
Excellent.
No. I don't think Jodie should leave. I know. There's lots of people have their own opinions, their own thoughts. Do you know what? She's doing all right. I mean, the production might not be great, but you know what? We are not the. I know. I could be kicked out of this.
Just define when you say she's doing all right.
Banned.
Explain that.
Hang on, he doesn't have to explain. He doesn't have to justify that.
Well,
If we
I
like
could
Jodie,
challenge
that's
it. I mean,
fine.
it gets less than 5 million an episode when it was getting 7 to 8.
But then-
we're talking about performance-wise. I think that's right. Carry on, Ian.
Performance-wise on the character, for me, I think it's she's getting there. There's still a bit like Sylvester, for example. His first season, he was still trying to find the role, still wrestling with it, and then by the end, oh my God, we had an amazing Doctor with McCoy. I think that's what's happening with Jodie here, and I think the beauty of Doctor Who fandom is that everybody has their own sort of opinion of and their thoughts and feelings about what should happen, what happens. I think, and also their own sort of hopes what will happen going forward. Unfortunately, we don't have a say. It's
true.
which is quite sad for lots of people because they want to be able to be. They want to be Chris Chibnall, They want to be.
We don't want to be Chris Chibnall. We definitely.
Well, no, but they want to be in that position.
But and of course you're absolutely right, Ian. But there must be some actors where you've been watching them recently in Hollyoaks or whatever, or in Marcella or one of these, and you thought, God, that actor.
I think, and it's been rumored in the press over the last week or two, and his name has just gone out of my
Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, thank you very much. I've said that for quite some time, for many years, even I think before Eccleston, or even when Eccleston was doing it, when he did a thing called Fan Dabby Dozer. And everything he's ever done, Michael Sheen he's a fantastic actor. I don't think the BBC would cast him.
Yeah, apparently he said no, didn't he? Or something like that. I've read an article that they actually asked him that question.
I've not heard this. Why don't you think they would ask him though, Ian?
Well, the thing is that I don't think he'll take the role. He's very big in the movies. He's gotten to a point where that Hollywood likes him. He goes in and out between America and England, making TV shows and making movies. I don't think his agent would definitely say no, don't do it. And I don't think he wants to do it, tell you the truth. But I may be wrong about that. I'm just guessing. So I don't know. Sorry, what's that? Was that?
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground, Ian. There are people who still like it.
Yeah, but not many of them. The difference between Sylvester McCoy's era and this era is that when Sylv joined, there were no scripts, there was no direction for the show, there was no producer, there was no script editor. JNT was kept on forcefully as the last remaining member of staff at the BBC in its old incarnation, the way it used to be. He had to get everything done for it. So that's why his first season was actually pushed together with nothing to do based on... I mean, look at Pip and Jane writing Time in the Rani. They were just asked to do it because John knew them. And then Andrew brought in writing afterwards. So by the time they got to do series 25 and 26, the fuss of 24 was over. They had to sit down and say, right, where are we going? We have a proper production meeting. The difference with this era is that Chibnall knew before he was given the role that he wanted a certain actor to do the role, i.e. a female, and how he was going to do it and how the story would run and how he was going to reboot the origin of the character and make it a different character. You can't ever compare the Chibnall era to what was going on in Sylvester's time, especially because it's two different beasts. So when people start saying that, I go, no, actually look at the history of what was going on in 1986. It was not the same.
I'm just looking at Daniel Leach's comment. His music makes me jump out the window. I think he means Daniel O'Donnell's music, not Chris Chibnall's music.
Very possibly.
I'm pretty certain about that. No, but whenever we have this conversation, one of us, in fact, wherever you have this conversation with anybody who's got any sort of vested interest, somebody always mentions Michael Sheen. And I think because he's still, he's a middle-aged actor, isn't he? So he's not particularly young, but he's not particularly old either. He's in his early to mid-50s. He's going to be around for quite a long time. And I can't see, every time this question comes up, every time it looks like a doctor is going to leave, I think the name Michael Sheen, it's always going to be on people's lips, isn't it, Barnaby? He's that ubiquitous, and he seems that perfect for it.
He auditioned, didn't he, at the same time as Tennant? That's what I heard.
Because
really? They talk. I hear they talk about it in Stage, which is that Zoom show that David Tennant does with Michael Sheen, and I think he mentions they make a joke or something that he auditioned for it.
That might be staged. That might be staged itself, though, Barnaby.
Yeah.
Russell was working, and Julie were working with David on Casanova, and they more or less said to him, "Do you want to play the Doctor?"
Yeah, I think that was the first time. I don't know if he actually went and auditioned, but that's the story.
Maybe not for that one.
Michael Sheen's a brilliant actor. I love him in Good Omens, and him and David have a brilliant.
Barnaby as the Doctor again. What the hell's going on?
It's a regular weekly suggestion. If we get a new showrunner with good scripts, then there's only one logical choice as the next Doctor, Barnaby, and he probably already has an idea for the wardrobe. That they're getting to know you already, I think, Barnaby.
Absolutely.
Ready and willing. I do it in a heartbeat. I'll be fantastic.
We have We've got the rabbi here in the chat. Hello, Rabbi. The rabbi's up later on at 6 o'clock. Jodie is never going to be able to play the Doctor effectively, as she just doesn't believe in the role. Don't even mention her in the same breath with Sylvester. I would completely agree with that.
I mean,
see you, Rabbi.
As I was saying, right, Ian, I mean, I don't mind people if they like Jodie. Jodie's just not for me. And the most offensive thing they actually did to the show was to destroy the canon. And that, for me, has just destroyed my want to watch this era now. As I said, I was really up for Jodie being the Doctor when I saw the advert. My heart did sink a bit, but I thought, you know what, maybe it might revitalize the show. And you know what, a lot of people that are against the show, a lot of people thought that as well. I wasn't the only one with those thoughts, and we all gave her a shot. But I believe, and I always stress this, that I don't think it's Jodie's fault. I think it's the management around her that made her look bad. She's not a bad actress. A lot of people disagree. Well, yes, we've got
a comment here from Darren, who says, "How do you think having a comedic background such as John Pertwee or Sylvester helps with an actor taking the role?" Ian Kubiak, what do you think about this? About a comedic background?
Timing for a Time Lord.
Good point. It's a good point. Because what I love about John Pertwee, his Doctor has taken literally decades to really sort of burrow into me the way the others have. I never got it for years and years and years. But in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've really got on board with it, and I've realised how much I love the character. And I realised after watching, all the documentaries and everything, how much of a leap it was for John, being from this comedic background, to fall back from all that and to take was it Barry Letts or Derek Sherman's instruction, or Terrence Dicks, one of the three, to play it as himself. What a leap of faith that could have been. If for a guy with, at that time, 20, 25 years in the business behind him, it must have still have been a sort of gulp. He had to muster all the faith of the people who were advising him to do that, because his instincts were to go with a comedy creation, to create a little tramp figure, the way that, do you see what I mean? Because Patrick Troughton, he created a character which he stepped into, didn't he? Whereas Pertwee, he'd played character after character, and that's what interests me about. I think I've said this before. That's what interests me about Richard Ayoade playing the part. And
No, don't go down that road, please.
I think to a lesser extent, even though he's not a comedic actor, I think it's the same with Michael Sheen. I don't know, even though I wouldn't say he's strictly a comedic actor, he's played so many different characters, so many different parts. I mean, Ian, what you just said about Fantabuloso when he played Kenneth Williams, you forget all these biopics where he disappears into these characters. What would it be like if you stripped all that away from an actor like Michael Sheen?
You know what? Michael Sheen would be a really good doctor, and if he did get cast as a doctor, I think the script writers will definitely have to up their game and give him some really good stories, because he deserves it. As an actor, he'll bring, a huge beyond A game to that TV show.
The difference with being is that if you cast somebody of Michael Sheen's caliber, you would change your script writers.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You would get people who are up there on their A game with him. Yeah, and that's one thing that we've actually seen. If you look at the modern series from 2008, 9, the quality's changed, and certainly in the last 4 or 5 years, the quality's been a little bit lackluster, as though it's just the making do. And that's what you should never do with the television. And that responds in the fact the viewing figures have gone down. We as fans are not necessarily tuning in. We are not supportive of the current era, because it's as though they're just, we're making do with this sort of stuff. When it comes to a comedic background as well, yeah, you're absolutely right, other Ian. The timing is ability, but you wouldn't have any necessarily a comic. You wouldn't have had Victoria Wood as Doctor Who. You wouldn't necessarily had Julie Walters as Doctor Who. You wouldn't, necessarily have.
I think I'd go for
that. You wouldn't have had Tommy Cooper or Ken Dodd.
Oh, he'd be really good, Tommy Cooper.
Oh, I'd love to see Tommy Cooper.
There's a different sort of style of comedy where it comes to and John was, of course. He wouldn't have liked himself. He wouldn't have liked being called a comic, because he was a theatre. He was variety. He was a different sort of actor, and that's that thing. You've got to be able to deliver a script, which, in the case of today's show, is obviously impossible.
There's a difference between a comedian and a comedic actor, aren't there? Just want to say hello to JFO in the chat. This is a name I don't remember seeing before. So hello. Every Doctor has that moment, or moments that we remember and we think that's the Doctor. Jodie has never had that moment, so she doesn't feel like the Doctor to me. What's her moment so far? Well, I think we've talked about that before. I don't think she's had one. I completely agree. Welcome to the channel, JFO.
Do you know which Sylvester McCoy, right? I think what JNT was looking for. He was looking for someone to bring their own personality to the Doctor. It's kind of like when Sylvester Stallone was going to make Beverly Hills Cop, and then he couldn't do it, and then they got Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy just brought himself to that role and just completely made it something, and it was really good. And I think that's what he was trying to do with Sylvester. But unfortunately, with Sylvester, he, as JT said, he came into an era where nobody knew what they were doing, and the first season did suffer really badly. The first episode I saw, I was like, "This, what the hell am I watching?" Do you know what I mean? It was just so bad, acting, everything, right across the board. So I think JT's definitely got something there.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, that was the case. I mean, that was just the time for 24. But the advantage was you had a brand new script editor. JNT, by his own admission, was starting to take a back step because he was so tired. He was so tired. He had been through an awful lot with a hiatus, Colin sacking, all this sort of stuff. And he was so tired of it. So he put himself up on a back step. And Sylv got the luxury of being able to sit with Andrew Cartmel and say, I would like to do this with the character. And that tied in with Andrew's sort of making this a little bit more grown up or moving it away, bringing the mystery back. And that was a magical time for it. And the kids wouldn't have got that. But certainly you can see it now. If you look back at it with adults' eyes and you look at 24, which is hilariously camp, and then you go to I was blown away in 88 when Remembrance of the Daleks Part 1 started, because here was, again, a different reiteration, and the Doctor had changed. And then you get to the end of 26 with Ghostlight, totally different, but it was all because of the production stuff there. And the thing about John as well, he cast Sylv because John always worked on contrast. And yes, he loved Sylvester's performance. They went through a hell of a lot of auditions to get this one right after what had just happened. And there was a lot of bureaucracy involved internally about who was going to be the new Doctor. But as soon as John focused on the performance from the Pied Piper and stuff like that, John wanted Sylve.
It was a case of it's an often told story, isn't it? That JNT, he wasn't at the deep end in the run up to this. He had, I think he was going off on annual leave, which he'd built up like nearly a month's worth of annual leave, which he was about to go on, and yet he'd been pretty much ordered to stay on the show. But he'd got no script editor, he'd got no leading actor, and he'd got no real time to go and find one. And I believe that in the same morning, he had two phone calls, literally one after the other. One from Clive Doig, who was the producer on Eureka. Yeah, the producer on Eureka. And one from Sylvester's agent as well. Is that true, Ian Kubiak? Or is that a myth?
Yeah. I don't know if it happened, quite like that, but I know those calls did apparently happen. Yeah.
And of course, so this is the man you need to go and see. You're seeing is believing sort of thing. And in the Pied Piper, as you said, JT, and it would seem that the stars really aligned for Sylvester. And I understand that in the years before, people who he'd been working with in theatre and TV or whatever else would say to him, you'd make a great Doctor Who and all that sort of thing. A bit like people are saying to you at the moment, Barnaby.
I always look at that as funny because Sylve has said that on the convention circuit. People in the industry were saying to him, you'd be a great Doctor Who. But that showed me at the perception of the time, no disrespect to Sylve because I love Sylve and he's a great guy and a very recognisable Doctor. But it showed me how could be happening now, the perception of what Doctor Who is. Because, we were always getting, Paul Daniels is going to be the Doctor. Somebody far way out there who would never actually get... I mean, when Chris Eccleston...
Daniel O'Donnell, for example. Daniel O'Donnell.
Yeah, and that shows where the press was coming from and where the industry may have been going. It was all done tongue-in-cheek as, it's just a kid's show. Well, nobody cares. And then, when Chris Eccleston was cast, my God, everyone went, what? It's going to be that sort of show.
Immediately flipped it.
It was all right. Yeah.
I think when was it? Yes, it was around a year ago that Sylvester's final season was released onto Blu-ray. So it is weird that they drop the Blu-rays out the way that they do, that they don't even approach the individual Doctors in subsequent sort of order. But at least that does keep us guessing. It is all part of the fun. But yeah, last week we did get this announcement, didn't we, that season 24 was the next release in the Doctor Who The Collection set from BBC Studios. So it's going to be the new release for June the 1st. At the moment, it's listed for June the 1st, but we know and they know that will change. Yeah, it's starring Sylvester McCoy in his first season as the 7th Doctor, and it contains Time in the Rani, Paradise Towers, Delta and the Bannermen, and Dragonfire. 14 episodes of peak late 80s Doctor Who. It says here in the press release, season 24, first aired in 1987 and saw the 7th Doctor and companion Mel thrust through time and space, traversing alien planets, a hostile futuristic tower block, 1950s Wales, and finally the mysterious colony of Iceworld, where the Doctor meets Ace.
Let's have a look at the lovely cover, because we've had this conversation when the Pertwee one was announced a few episodes back. Let's see what he's holding. Oh, look, it's the spoons.
Yeah.
Spoons of the entire season.
Sporks.
As always, sporks.
Yeah,
And as
sporks.
always, Lee Binding's done a beautiful job of the whole package there. Just as a coincidence, I started watching season 24 around 2 weeks ago. I'm midway through Paradise Towers now. So I'm thinking, I'd have held back a few months. I could have watched these in the new set, because I think it's been around 4 years since I've watched them. But there's so many features in this set again. You get extended versions of all 4 stories, it says here, featuring previously unseen material. Now, from what I understand, there's a treasure trove of unseen material from the McCoy era that's never been seen before. Some of it time-coded and some of it not. But wondering what and how long some of these edits are going to come in at, that's really, really exciting.
They did a good trailer, didn't they, Dan? You've seen the trailer?
They did a fantastic trailer. That's also on the set. I've got some pictures for that in a moment too. But
The brilliant thing about this is that
We've got rare studio and location footage, 25 hours worth of raw material never seen before.
Bloody hell!
Behind, 24 hours, and that Blu-ray trailer which has been put together by Peter McTighe, convention footage. We've got the usual HD photo galleries, info text, scripts and costume designs, and all of the things in a big PDF archive. So we get spoilt. We get spoiled on these releases.
Absolutely. I mean, to put that sort of those special features, when I saw those special features listed, I was like, that is just amazing. And season 24 doesn't have many fans. For those of us that watched the original series, like myself, we're not that keen on it. I mean, I don't think I've revisited it since 1987. Right. But, you know, those features are so wonderful. Congratulations to everybody putting those together. That's a real sellable addition there. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, check this out. There's some screenshots here that were put out. I think Chris Chapman tweeted these out. There's Sylvester McCoy in conversation. That's the feature interview that Matthew Sweet, on every box set that they put out, we get one 65-minute long form interview. Just those two guys sat down to talk about the career of the subject as well as their time in Doctor Who. I always find that those riveting, I mean, they seem to go in the blink of an eye. 60 minutes just sort of flashes by.
Yeah,
and
really good those ones.
Wonderful scene at the bottom here, Barnaby, with all three. Sylvester,
really nice.
with Bonnie,
sit down and watch it all together. I've started watching the Blu-ray of Tom Baker's first season, and they're just sitting there watching. And I think they've also got the daughter of Sarah Jane, who's the actress's name.
Sadie Miller. Yeah.
Yes, and she's got some brilliant things to say about the entire thing. So it's always fun seeing them sit down and talk about it.
Our friend Simon Horton doesn't enjoy these features behind the sofa very much, but there is 4 brand new episodes of Behind the Sofa on the new set with Sylvester McCoy, Bonnie Langford, and Sophie Aldred here, along with Peter Davison, with Janet Fielding and Sarah Sutton. They'll also be watching these episodes, and so will Colin Baker and Michael Jaston.
Oh, yeah.
Ian Kubiak. This is terrific fun, isn't it? This is the Doctor Who family, all sitting down, Gogglebox style. How do you feel about these behind the sofa features?
I love them. I think they're great. I think it gives one of the things I've noticed over the years of going to Doctor Who events or meeting people from Doctor Who is that they know of people's work. They know Colin knows Sylvester's, and Sylvester was Doctor Who, but they've never watched each other's work.
No.
And I think that's the interesting thing, is that it's like, and on the trailer, Colin says, I'm actually enjoying this story, and that's quite
he's not
interesting.
going to say he's not enjoying it, is he? Do you know what I mean? What else is he going to say?
This is shit.
I think
Time Lapse was much better.
Hello. The thing with actors, though, is that they were usually working on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Filming or whatever in those days. So you wouldn't necessarily sit down to watch a show you had been in, would you? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same as the Big Finish releases. They're not going to listen to each other's Big Finishes, even if they listen to their own. So yeah. But I think it's great. I think having this. I think the production team behind the Blu-rays, they really know their stuff and really know what the fans who will buy these box sets want, and they've been really, really successful, and they will do, and let's hope eventually in a few years' time we all have a shelf full of them.
Fantastic! It's fantastic. These extras, absolutely fantastic. It makes it worth buying the set. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's not. I
think whether you've seen the stories 30, 40, 50 times, or if you're somebody who maybe watched back in the mid to late 80s and decided it wasn't for you, and you haven't been back to it since, or maybe only once or twice since, then there's still going to be a lot there for everybody. This is why the amount of work and thought and affection they put into these extras. I'm just looking at Sylvester's waistcoat. Is that the TARDIS from the Van Gogh episode?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's brilliant. I didn't even know you could get those.
It was made for him by a Doctor Who fan in America.
Was it really? Nice choice, Sylvester, if you're watching.
How old is Sylvester these days? How old is Sylvester now? Does anybody know?
70s, I think.
70s.
Mid 70s, yeah.
He was born in 43. So that
Right.
would make him nearly 78.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
The
78
other
in all.
wonderful thing about these features is that it is documenting British television.
yes.
And there was a clip on the trailer of Andy Cartmel saying along the lines of, Yabu to everything else that was around in 1987. He's absolutely right, because here it is again. We're talking about it again now in 2021. The season itself is about to come out again. We've had the VHS version, we had the DVD version, now we've got the Blu-ray version with all these wonderful extra features that they have documented with. I mean, that is special, because what other British television show gets this treatment? And that's something I think for all Doctor Who fans to be proud of. Because it's there. Future generations can look at all these things and go, well, that's how they used to make television in the 20th century. Wonderful.
Is that how you look at? Is that how you look at Doctor Who, Barnaby? Because you being coming to it when it was off, you discovered it. You discovered William Hartnell's time first, didn't you? We've spoken about this before. So when you saw it all stretch out in front of you, and you had this 26-year block. Was it, as JT described, that this is the history of TV over the last 3 decades?
I mean, I think it speaks for it, for the fact I didn't look at it as in like, oh, this is history. I'm sitting down going, this is amazing. This was made in what, like 63? This is fantastic. Me as a 13-year-old watching it, and I'm just like, this is something I can really get into, and I really want to be a part of the fandom. And the fact that it's lasted so long. And people are still talking about it now because it is timeless, and young people can still get into it and watch something that's, even if it is a bit sort of slow paced, I still like that. Even as a young teenager, I still really loved it and enjoyed it. And
so whilst you could say there's quite a leap in 24 years between say An Earthly Child, The Daleks, Reign of Terror. You look at something like that compared to something like Paradise Towers, Dragonfire, there is still that through line, isn't there? The 25-minute format.
It's still that it's still Doctor Who, and even though it has sort of changed, and it kind of changed for the better. Sometimes it changed for the worse. It was still watchable, and it was still and that has to do also with the acting and the stories, not Delta and the Bannerman, but the rest of the stories. And the acting really the acting made me want to watch these people, because it was a shoestring budget. The effects were not so good even for the time. You still watch because of the stories and the amazing characters, and for a teenager, that's what I'm
going to have to say something, because you've just said that. And Cliff Maxwell, hi Cliff, good to see you, mate. Cliff's in the chat. Honestly, Delta is the only weak one in my opinion, and otherwise
agree.
Season. Whereas Delta is easily my favourite story of this set. I love it to bits.
I
really do.
It makes no sense. The bees, Doctor. The bees are going to get us. I can't do Welsh.
It's a good try.
This is where you can't expect everything. You want things to make sense. Could be a tall order. Talking of tall orders, yes, we put an order in for this guy earlier on, but he was out on a mission for the Time Agency, as always. But the crackling of the vortex, he has at last been set free from the storm cage itself. Everybody, Vanessa, you're going to love this, because he's here. Simon Horton, welcome back.
Bloody, he's had a haircut as well.
Already.
Haircut. Jesus.
Okay.
Very trendy, Simon. Very trendy.
I heard my name mentioned. I thought better leap in. Yeah, sorry I'm late yet again. I know, work, etc. All the rest of it. What a stupid time to do it on a Tuesday afternoon, and I'm still trying to work. Sorry, folks.
Simon, you're going to have to drop all Doctor Who talk and talk about something that is way, way, way more important. The question that is on everybody's lips: where on earth have you managed to get a haircut during lockdown? Can they put me in?
Listen, do you know what? This is only the second haircut I've had in the last 12 months. And my other half did it and has done it brilliantly. So I'm very, very grateful. It desperately needed doing. It was driving me mad. So finally I've had a haircut.
Well, fantastic job. Nice job, Simon. When can you fit me in?
You found a bowl that can fit your head then, Simon.
I could start swearing to
that. As youthful as always, talking about people who never seem to age, check this out. Yeah, you mentioned it a moment ago, Ian, because with this, we did get 8 minutes of what you could call a minisode, which starred this lady, front and center, Bonnie Langford, back as Melanie Bush, looking wonderful and relishing the part in this thing. 24 carats. It was all puntastic, wasn't it? You know, I love a pun, and this was loaded with them. The whole carrot juice thing, how she's sort of been power dressing, the Dragon's Den thing. I thought this was tremendous fun, and I've got to be honest, I could have stood a season, but certainly a whole story of this. Simon, have you caught this yet?
Yeah. So I couldn't believe it was 8 minutes long. This is like they're just getting longer and longer. These trailers.
Longer than Night of the Doctor.
That's a thought for you. My goodness. Yeah, 8 minutes. Yeah, it was cracking. Look, I'm going to be honest. Season 24 is far from my favourite season. It's right down the bottom, actually. But there we go. But listen, the trailer was fantastic. They did a brilliant job with it, as they always do. It's funny. I don't know whether everybody else is like this, but in these COVID days these days, every time I see anybody with any physical contact at all, I'm thinking, oh, social distancing, they're not doing it right. And so there's this moment at the end when Bonnie and the Doctor, get together and they're this close. I'm like, I'm not sure. Was this in the risk assessment?
It's green screen.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. There is a point.
All angles.
So it's just one of those things. It's great. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I'm always doing this whenever I watch television now. I'm thinking, social distancing. It feels all wrong.
Tats in their head and stuff, and when they found out they haven't got anything, so it'd be fine.
But it's a great trailer. It's a fantastic trailer, and it almost makes me want to buy it. Almost.
I was the same, Simon. Almost, I thought, look at all these special features, and that trailer is gorgeous. And if anybody's watching from the BBC team, it's great you might well to put all the special trailers together, because they are brilliantly done, and it makes you want to think what they're going to do next and who's going to be in it. But wasn't it lovely as well to see the Doctor?
Yeah, that was the best part.
Great to see the Doctor. What a lovely surprise, even though you knew it was him.
You were hoping it was going to be him in the season 26 trailer. You really wanted that to be at the end of that, and it wasn't.
Remind me what the season 26 one was.
That was the one with Sophie.
Ace is there in an office.
Office suite. That's right. See, just the umbrella. So
I got the impression that when that came out, which has got to be a good 18 months ago now, and obviously that was made by Pete as well. Pete McTighe wrote and directed that, very much his baby, as was this. I think the reaction, and Ian Kubiak, you probably know this a lot better than I did, but I think that they were all surprised by the reaction to that trailer. That Pete was surprised, that Sophie was surprised, and I think it really sort of pushed up awareness of this entire brand of what could be possible, and the fact that they could get Sylvester back on screen. What can you tell us about that, Ian?
I think you're right. I think definitely each release has bettered with these trailers, and it's always that sort of what they're going to do next, and it's lovely to see McCoy in the costume again.
An actual Doctor's costume, not just something, not just one of the funny T-shirts, not something that's a little bit like what he used to wear. That is, for all intents, that is his costume, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very, very close approximation of it, isn't it? And he's there. He straight away he's in character, and it's lovely. And I think what's also helped these releases as well is the BFI. The BFI screenings, and I mean, look at that. That is lovely.
Between that, amazing, isn't it? How beautiful.
They've actually got the correct coat as well. They've got his correct coat for season 24. So they, famously, Sylvester didn't like that coat, but nonetheless, they've gone with it quite correctly for season 24. So it's great. These are mini episodes in every sense of the word. and these are as much to look forward to as the box set itself. They're just cracking, and Pete, you're doing a good job with them. They're good.
It certainly brings Doctor Who fandom an excitement, doesn't it? Even from some of the younger, newer ones, they quite excited to see a trailer like that. I quite like that because everybody suddenly talks about that, and it gives interest to the original series. And I think that's wonderful when people get excited and see that sort of stuff and go, "Oh, this is lovely," and it's just lovely.
I mean, from my point of view, I was at this point. I'd been into the series for around a decade, properly into the series, and I felt that very much that Peter Davison had been my Doctor, and I felt that he was gone too soon. And I really got on board with what Colin was doing. I loved that it was so different, but then he seemed to also be gone criminally too soon, and here was another Doctor. And so I was not exactly punch drunk by it. I always liked what Sylvester did, but I was starting to feel that my Doctors was kind of in the past. And as in the time in between, I've always enjoyed these stories, but I don't think I appreciate. And I was delighted to see him back in '96 for the TV movie. But when I saw,
they shot him.
When I saw Sylvester wrestle his way from underneath those robes in this trailer, and to be stood there like that in his actual costume, it hit me right in what the millennials, what you lot call the feels. It really. Yes. I don't think I realised how much I loved this character, him in this role. I'd taken it for granted, I think.
And it was very much within the Seventh Doctor's character as well. That is something the Seventh Doctor would do to surprise the likes of Mel, he was very fond of Mel. He was really fond of Mel. His first companion after Regeneration. They always seem to get attached to the first one after Regeneration. But he was back there, wasn't he? There's the Doctor. Bang.
It was a lovely, lovely moment.
What's on your cap, Simon?
The Black Hole, classic
Black Hole. Great movie.
This is my guilty. The Black Hole is my guilty pleasure. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and everybody hates it. I don't.
I know. I love it.
It's the reason I got Disney Plus so I could watch the Black Hole.
You're kidding me, Barnaby. You are kidding me.
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding you.
I love the Black Hole. Can we please do a whole podcast at some point?
When I was a kid, I wanted Maximilian.
You're on.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd love that.
I've got the vinyl, Simon.
I've got the vinyl.
I've got the vinyl. I've got everything. I'm waiting for Vincent and old Bob and the Maximilian models, the Diamond Select ones from America. I'm waiting for those. So if they're here by next week, you'll get to see those.
Oh yeah, great.
That'd be brilliant.
Oh, we just diverted there. Sorry.
Yeah. We I've got a wormhole, didn't we? Straight into a wormhole then for a second.
It is allowed. I've got some more pictures here. These are from Stephen Cranford over on Twitter. He was working on set during the making of this trailer, and he shared these behind the scenes pictures. I just thought they were a delight. There's Edward Peel back as Kane,
and that's Richie Gauntlet as well, isn't it? As Yurak, apparently.
Apparently so. I haven't seen any pictures. I don't think I've ever seen a single picture.
Unless he just did the voice for it, but he got credited for it.
It certainly sounded like it, and just Sylvester looking at Bonnie there. Every picture I've seen from this, I just thought it was a total delight.
It shows you what you can do with absolutely no money at all, really, doesn't it? Because that's they've just lit the studio brilliantly. Wonderful.
Yeah, they've literally just gone into a studio and done nothing apart from they've pulled the drapes round, the studio drapes round, and lit it.
They had the effect in the beginning, didn't they? In the beginning.
Yeah.
Trailer, so they added that. At least.
I love that because I saw in that trailer. I saw Scorpio from Blake 7. Here we go, and the Nova Beacon.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, speaking of the Nova Beacon, fans, 47 years ago today, the Ark in Space started.
Yes.
Indeed it did. Yep. Indeed it did. I can still remember the cliffhanger to part 1 when the worm falls out of the cupboard. Still remember it.
We salute the Ark in Space. Yes, you're quite right. And I had this too. I've got several pictures, in fact, from this screenshots from Neil Bushell, who was the CGI artist behind these scenes. Also a massive Blake 7 fan. He's just written one of the Big Finish Blake 7 stories, I believe. I think it's one of the talking book stories, but that could be why the Scorpio made its way into this. But yeah, it was all beautifully done, and effects that I believe wouldn't be out of place in Doctor Who itself. You're a Scorpio man as well, there, Ian.
Yeah, I do like Scorpio, but Liberators is a unique design. I love the Liberator.
Classic ship. Why they got Ian number 2? Why did they destroy the Liberator? The most powerful ship in the, and then they replaced it with a freighter and a dreary.
Well, because they couldn't figure out how to use the strings on it and how to balance it. That's why I got rid of it.
Ian number 2. Do you know what happened there? Has anyone told you why they just decided? Go on, put me out my misery. Tell me.
It was in the script.
Ask a silly question.
I don't think it's a silly
But
question.
it is gutting. You're right, JT, because the original Liberator is one of the. It's up there with the Starship Enterprise. It's one of the most original, unusual. It's also up there with the Cygnus.
Yes,
From Black Hole. It is. It's one of the great spaceships of its day. And why?
They remake Blake 7. They've got to keep the Liberator all the way through it. So keep all the way through it, mate.
They kind of replaced it with the Millennium Falcon ripoff. That's what they did, I think. It's a Millennium Falcon kind of.
I understand from a production point of view, because the Scorpio set, although it was very nice and very of its day, it was very 1980-81, wasn't it? It was flat.
Yes.
Whereas Liberator, the set there was huge and it was stairs and it must be falling to bits as well. But no. Anyway, we're digressing. Let's go back to series 24 of Doctor Who.
2 wormholes now. 2.
But I really do miss the old TV though, where everything was very clearly shot on the studio floor. And in fact, I'm halfway through this story at the moment. Yes, this one.
Yeah.
And this is a prime example. And I have to be honest, I was dreading rewatching this last time. I found it really, really difficult. I know it line by line, but something about it this time, I'm really, really enjoying it. I think it could be because I recently saw the film High Rise, which was obviously an adaptation of the story that Paradise Towers was also influenced by. And I think I've realised that, Paradise Towers may not be the best example of Doctor Who, but it's a considerably better watch than the film of High Rise. Don't it is absolutely horrendous. Paradise Towers is much more entertaining, and it actually gets the message across, the same message across, a lot better, a lot more entertaining way, in my view.
And in about £2.40 as opposed to $2.5 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Economical for the license fee.
One of the things that I didn't like about this era was that they lit it like EastEnders.
Yeah, but that was
they lit everything.
I know, but even when you look at the John Pertwee ones, and some of it was shot on Super 16, and some of it was in the studio, it looks so much better than the way it seemed very kind of sterile. I don't know how to describe it, but I didn't like the look of the.
They all had to have Blue Peter standard lighting in studio. It was the wonderful thing about Paradise Towers, and I'll actually defend the stories of season 24. I may not be a big fan of the thing, but I will defend it because just the circumstances we got at the time. Paradise Towers is a standout example of a script that could be done today with a decent budget, and it would be amazing. It would be gritty. It would be a thriller. It would be a murder. It would be scary with today's production values.
Yeah. And that robot looks scary as well, actually.
Don't you think one of the main problems of Paradise Towers, bless him, is Richard Briers, and he just missed.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh, I thought he made it incredibly watchable. He was. I think he was having a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's the problem.
I don't know if this was ever come out before, but I do know that Mr. Briers was winding JNT up because John apparently had gone to him on several occasions saying, "Are you going to do it like that? I don't really want you to do it like that." And he just did. And
of course, Paul Darrow was the same in Time Lash. They were literally setting it up. They set it up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a school of thought that says, okay, yeah, you can do that, and it'll make entertaining watching. But I just feel it doesn't suit Paradise Towers. I think a grittier feel was what really suited it.
Yeah.
What can you
So what season 24 is coming at some time in the summer, remastered and sort of HD ready. What's the expression what's the expression called? Upscaled. That's it. All upscaled. So which story, Simon? You say you're not going to buy this, but if you, and I think you're probably, I don't know. You're not going to buy it. You may cave.
Okay, I'm going to let you do a secret.
Yeah.
I have got
He's
it on
brought it.
pre-order. I have it on pre-order.
So
But I can
I'm go-
obviously cancel the pre-order, and I'm literally, I don't know, I genuinely don't know what to do, whether to go for it or cancel the pre-order. I'm really uncertain. The truth of it is, this is my least favourite season of the full 26-year run of the original run.
That accepted. You surprised me there, but that accepted. Of those 4 stories, which is the one that you're looking forward to seeing most in its upscaled form? To giving another day in court.
Alex, the Dalek one.
The Daleks aren't in 24.
No. they're
Oh
not
no,
in the-
sorry.
No, season 25, I'd be fine with. I'd be okay with 25.
25,
Oh
yeah.
gosh, I don't know. Oh flip. Seriously, none of them. I'm sorry, none of them.
You're just going to comment it complete. You're just going to
I
comment
just
it
don't
for a
know what-
clean.
Simon,
The
would
truth of it is, this was the point that I stopped watching Doctor
Same
Who on
here.
the original run.
Same here.
Right.
Yeah,
I got to Happiness Patrol and I was done with it.
yeah,
That's
so
it.
was I. It's a
I
shame.
don't want it just for your completion, to complete the
Yeah.
era to 26, because you're very much a completist.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Just
I'm an
myself.
OCD sufferer. I can't have that hole on the shelf, but I just don't know. I don't know whether I can bring
Shame.
Which is the which?
Get it for the features.
which-
Get it for the features.
Yeah, so which special feature will you make for first then? Which is your
Behind the
favourite?
sofa.
Yeah, behind the sofa. No, probably the Sylvester interview. I am interested by the Sylvester interview. I have to be
Yeah.
honest. And I know there's supposed to be this feature length documentary that covers the whole of making a season 24. That interests me because season 24 might not be my favourite season, but it's still Doctor Who, and it's certainly what I consider to be Doctor Who. Still Doctor Who, in the way that the new series is not Doctor Who for me. And so as much as I don't like it, it is Doctor Who, and I'm interested in the production and the way it was made and the stories behind it and the progression. So I'm still interested in that. So to be honest, yeah, if I do buy it, it will be purely for the special features, and I probably will watch it and enjoy those.
Yeah.
So,
It's weird though, because I totally agree with you what you're saying there. I mean, I'm the same as you. We're a similar age, and you and I must have sat down on that September the 7th, 1987, and had a sort of what moment is
Yeah,
going on,
I did.
and all through that whole year, all the 14 weeks.
yeah,
But it was still recognizably the Doctor
absolutely.
and Doctor Who. It still had that, and I think that was because John was still there guiding it with the vision. I know Doctor Who because I go back to the 60s with it, and it was still very much. Whereas today, you're right. It's not recognisable anymore. It's weird.
And I genuinely do think that there is an age thing in all of this. In that, Dan, you were saying earlier on that Peter Davison was your Doctor, and so you felt sort of progressively less inclined with it. I genuinely think there is an age thing here, that if you grew up with Sylvester McCoy, if he was your Doctor, you're just going to absolutely love Sylvester's stuff. So I'm what I'm saying is I am not knocking the Sylvester era at all. I'm just saying it's not my personal favourite of the run, but I absolutely get why other people will just absolutely love it.
I think it was that season that made me stop watching it. It was that season that made me stop watching it. But then after years had gone by and the Doctor was eliminated from the BBC and stuff like that, I started watching repeats and stuff like that. And I got to like him slightly more. But I've never watched that first season because I thought that first season was, you can tell nobody cared. Nobody cared. It just felt like
I can see why it may. I can see why it may seem that way. I mean, I think the truth is a lot of people there did care. I think Andrew Cartmel certainly cared. I know Sylvester cared. I've heard him talk about it with great conviction. Same with Bonnie. She was as consummate as ever. And then Sophie Aldred comes in positively, literally swinging the bat, swinging for the back fences. Playing ace, and there's lots of interesting supporting characters too, really memorable characters, both in sense of some of the stunt casting and some of the other sort of bit player actors in there, which I think they get to do quite nice things, sometimes with quite underwritten parts. People I've quite fond of over the years. Barnaby, of the stories of season 24, which is the one you said you're not so keen on Delta, but which is the one that you will make for, that you would put in your player first?
Paradise Towers, that's my favorite of the entire thing. Only because I'm a big fan of the sort of base under siege kind of thing, like a whole different, it's almost like a whole planet in this one building block. And so I'd be interested to hear the reviews about that and have the cast and everyone else talk about it, because I do want to know more about it. It's just a shame Richard Breer
Does anyone know
anymore to talk about it.
Have they mucked around with the picture, or have they just left it, upscale it, and just left it the way? Have they tried to, put more contrast in it, or have they?
They usually
look
put
pretty
new special effects in. I mean, they probably
Have
done
they?
that.
I haven't read about
Yeah.
any new special effects in any of the stories.
They did in the Tom Baker one, Blu-ray I'm watching. They have new special effects for the Ark in
right.
Space. You've got the option to
put
them on, but I
There's
thought they were doing that for all the
mention.
Blu-ray.
They've done
no
them for all the box sets so far, but this one, season 24,
There's
they
no
didn't
mention of
No, they
it
haven't,
on.
no.
There's no mention of it in this press release at all. But it does say it makes a big thing of the immersive 5.1 surround sound on all stories and the extended versions of all stories with the unseen material. Which I suppose that's.
Can I just say as well,
quite a lot.
Barnaby, what may have happened is that this Ark in Space here had alternative CGI effects on it. So they may have just
did it?
taken the DVD stuff that they did. There you go. So it's the same stuff that was on the DVD, just being
But having said that,
that
on
makes
all
more
of the
sense.
Blu-ray box sets so far, they've also done a new set of CGI for one story because it was Revenge of the
really?
Cybermen in season
Wow.
12.
Yeah, there's a YouTuber or a couple of YouTubers I've noticed that have done a comparison from the original day, and then you watch them and you think, was that it? Was that all?
So if they don't do any CGI in season 24, it'll be the first season that they haven't done, which would really surprise me. I would imagine that they probably would. And Paradise Towers probably is the one that's kind of crying out for.
And also the beginning of Delta, because with Delta with the bus in space with the TARDIS, which looked quite good in '87. I'll give it that. That looked all right.
It's quite good in '87. No, it didn't.
I think Paradise Towers is the. I think Paradise Towers is the one that's got that sort of room. It's got the elbow room to do interesting things to the environments around them. Because a lot of it is them walking up and down corridors or running up and down corridors, and that could be augmented with graphics and maybe adjusting the lighting, do something to the grading. Yeah. Ian Kubiak. So of these stories, what would be your choice of these four? Do you always watch a season in order, or do you rush straight to one story and play that right away? Because you can't wait to see.
I tend to watch the extras. I will watch the Beyond the Sofa or Behind the Sofa first of all. But the story I'm most looking forward to revisiting of that era, because it's the one I remember the most and means a lot to me for many, many reasons, is Dragonfire.
Okay. Go on, let us in as to why then. I think we've talked about all the other stories. Why Dragonfire?
Why Dragonfire? Because it's the one that I remember the most. It introduces the wonderful Sophie Aldred as Ace, Edward Peel as Kane, fantastic villain. You've got Glitz back.
Glitz.
Yeah,
Glitz.
Who doesn't like Glitz?
Glitz is so
Absolutely. And it's got the most infamous cliffhanger ever. Which actually I'm just about to go out and recreate.
Hanging off the back fence when the wife comes back.
That's right.
Indeed.
I love Glitz in Get Some In. Do you remember that show? Get Some In on ITV. Yeah.
Tony Selby. He's so great in pretty much everything. The Rabbi here. Most of the Blu-rays have new special effects, but not all. Season 3 didn't have new effects either. My vote for new special effects would be Delta. And he cut it down to a 60-minute edit. I can see the appeal in that, actually. As much as I love Delta, there's a lot of running around.
25-minute edit.
Season 23 had Terror of the Vervoids, by the way. Season 23 did have Terror of the Vervoids. That was
Hold on, guys. Did they put special effects in the other ones and just didn't do it for the McCoys one?
No, because
time will tell.
Season 26 had
I don't think
CGI in
trial. They did it in trial, yeah.
I don't think there's any favoritism though, Ian. I think they just do where they can. I mean, with time in the Rani, that would be quite good.
CGI 26.
Because it's kind of like Star Trek, really. Because Star Trek 5, nobody wanted to touch that film and put new special effects in, and the other ones they did, didn't they? From 4 to 1 to 2, they actually adjusted a couple of things. But it's like that, isn't it? With this Doctor Who with Sylvester, it kind of a lot of people. I know a lot of people that don't like the Sylvester era.
It's not that necessarily they don't like it. I mean, the difference being is we all accept Sylvester. He is.
Yeah, he is the Doctor.
Number 7. He is the Doctor. It was just as we've alluded to, a lot of us were at a different point. You know, some of us were 16, 17, 18 years old. The show had gone. I mean, you have to remember, you know, it had gone through a really tiring time for all of us. You had to, you know, we as fans were, never mind John, who being fatigued, we as fans, we'd just been put through nearly 3 years of sheer nonsense. Oh, our favourite show was guaranteed to come back every single year. And then suddenly from 86 onwards, it wasn't. We were all living on the knife edge until 1989. Remember? You know, and when it did come, we didn't get told. You had that beautiful end in Survival where if you had any common sense, you were turning around going, oh, right, okay. Bugger. But you were never told properly. But that's how we lived at the time. So I think that's had a certain effect on our outlook of Sylve's time. But he is still a recognizable incarnation of the Doctor. And where he takes the character is amazing.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
By the way, can I just please bust in there again and say to the Rabbi, no, there definitely is new SFX, CGI SFX in Terror of the Void. It's a new edit and new SFX. Trust me, it really, it really is. Trust me. Go and have a look at it again. It's a new edit and new CGI in Vervoids.
I mean, you know, Sylvester's a really nice guy, and you can tell that he lives life, you know, every second of every day to have fun. You can tell that about him as a person. Yeah. But unfortunately for me, he's not, you know, I'm not really a fan of the McCoy era, but, you know, he is the Doctor. What can I say?
Yeah. You know what I'd like to have eventually, if anybody's listening out there, see these covers that Lee does. Can we have some postcards, please? Because I'll collect all 26 of them if they're up to this standard. Because
they did do postcards for season 14 for some reason. I can't quite remember why now. They were signed by Louis Jameson.
I think the postcards may have been. I think the postcards may have been tied to a screening of one of the stories at the BFI.
Yeah, the BFI always release a postcard for when you go to their screenings. So they do a little postcard.
What, did they do a screening for Sylvester's one?
Well, they can't at the moment because everyone's.
For season 26, yeah, they showed the Curse of Fenric.
Oh, okay.
They do without fail for every box set until the current times.
I get quite annoyed with things like that because, to be honest, if you're outside of London, you don't get a shot.
Yeah, it is a pity. On one hand, though,
expensive to get to London.
It's good for the brand, though, isn't it? It's great for the brand, great for the range, and if you're going to hold it somewhere, I suppose it kind of makes sense that it would be there. But I agree with you. I'd like one of them to be held maybe at the Mac in Birmingham. I think that would be quite handy.
Haven't they got a BFI Scotland, JT? A BFI Scotland? Have they got one?
I think it's just the British Film Institute. But, you know, we've got the technology now. If one thing that this whole COVID-19 period has given us is that we can do stuff like we are doing now. They can beam things live and then open up some of the things like if there's postcards being out, which as a collector, that's frustrating me because I would want that. Make them available. You know, send in your thing saying, yeah, can you send me this? I'll give you. But I would pay for a lovely set when all 26 are done or as near to 26 as we can do, if you know what I mean. I would pay for those lovely things presented properly, or even in a lovely photographic type book or something, because they are gorgeous.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? What are your thoughts on the then new Spiral Galaxy opening titles then? Because I think we talked about this a little bit. What do you think? How do they stand up now, 30 odd years later, Barnaby?
I think that it still stands up well for me. I mean, the asteroids still look like scrunched up pieces of loo paper coming towards the galaxy. But I love it. I love that theme as well. I mean, I'll listen to that theme in the shower because I think it's one of my favorite renditions of it.
I think that was Dom, wasn't it? Dominic Glynn?
No, it's Kev.
No, it's Kev.
How was it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And I agree, Barnaby. I love the theme for the Sylvester theme. And I have to be honest, I hate Kev's music throughout Sylvester's run. I hate Kev McCulloch's music, but his theme is knockout.
Even in Delta.
You're right. The title sequence is great as well. It's very of its time.
80s, yeah.
They're perfectly balanced together, aren't they?
Yeah, it's great.
The logo is good as well. I like the new logo that they have for that one. That was very sort of 80s as well.
It's very of its time. It's very 80s.
Oh, of its time. Yeah. No, I like that one.
I was never very fond of the logo at the time, but again, with the passage of time, that association with a particular time in one's childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I think-
look
I
at
think
imagery
our
like
team
this.
works well.
I'm sorry. Every time I see this image, it always reminds me when he comes out the TARDIS and gets shot
Oh no!
for some reason. I don't know why. Because that's what
What
wasn't.
is-
No, he was wearing a different jacket when he came out, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was wearing a completely different
in the
costume.
TV movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, he didn't have the question mark jumper
What
anymore.
is-
just the little
What is
waistcoat.
it? What is he holding? I can't see what he's holding.
Spoons.
Spoons from
Oh,
Time and
spoons,
Rani.
spoons, okay, right, fair enough. Duh, yeah.
That also
That's the silly
shows up.
question.
That's also great. That it shows up Sylvester quite well. That for the movie, he flew all the way out to
Yes.
Canada just for like a couple of minutes, where he just gets shot in the first what was it?
Oh,
like
no.
10 minutes
Well,
of the
he
movie?
did
10
the-
minutes.
He did
But
the
he's
thing with the
knockout.
jelly baby in the beginning, didn't he? And he had the little box with the Master's ashes in and stuff. He did all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, but he didn't have to fly all the way at that. I mean, he didn't have a huge part, but it was good. He just went out there just for continuity and for
They
for
wanted
us
him out
really.
there.
'Cause-
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I mean,
really-
the American fans wouldn't know who he was, and the fact that he just went out there and just gets shot, and then he's
No, one of the
and there's
reasons
that
he did
horrific scene when he's on the operating table,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
me as a kid
yeah.
watching. Utterly, I'm like, this is for kids, right? The doctor's
Yeah.
screaming on the operating table.
I mean,
The
the
reason he
problem,
did that, Barnaby, was that he swore that he would always, if offered, do a regeneration
Yes.
scheme because he was very aware that Colin didn't do
Yeah.
one into him.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
fans at the time,
problem-
we were with Colin at the time. We understood why Colin wasn't going back, but we were a little bit sort of, "Ooh, hang on a minute."
But
The
one
problem
of the
is, of course-
YouTube fellas has done a generation. They actually did one. It looked quite good between Colin.
Oh, there's been
and,
loads over the
yeah,
years.
it's
Yeah,
quite,
there's been a few.
this one I saw was really nice, really well done. You know,
Because that's, I mean, you could say if you're going to start off a season of Doctor Who with a scene like that, at least you know the only way is up. And yeah, I mean, that would be the scene, I suppose. If ever you're going to put new SFX on this box set at all, it would have been to do something definitive with that,
Yeah.
as you've said, looking at the various fan versions that have been done, and to give it a real, put some real money into it. I think.
Well, I
think
saw-
something could be done with it.
sorry, I saw a fan video where they took John Hurt and he changed into Chris Eccleston.
Yeah.
And there's been a few, but there was one really good one that actually looked like Chris was called back in. So, you know, and I don't understand why the BBC, they had the technology to do it, but they just didn't go there, you know? So-
Well, that's 'cause Chris had said no to going into that particular episode. And
yeah,
you
but
do-
they own
Yeah, but it's
Doctor Who. They own
disrespectful.
the images.
No,
They own the
there
images.
is a story behind that. They did actually create the full sequence
Ah, right.
with Hurt and Chris Eccleston, and they sent. I believe they needed Chris Eccleston's approval or his agent's approval to use his likeness in what was essentially new material, and it was either denied or they couldn't afford it or whatever. But yes, it was because they cut away. They cut away at the split second, don't they? Then
Yeah,
Eccleston's
with the eyes.
features
Yeah.
start-
No, but the
start
thing is,
to-
though,
start to-
that's really bad because usually you have a contract saying with the contract that you sign, usually for a TV show, whatever, it says that you're allowed to use the image throughout the whole of the universe. That's the line that's always in those contracts, throughout the whole of the universe. That's what it says. So I don't know why the BBC didn't have that contract with
Well,
Chris.
we're going off on a tangent again here, actually. But, you know, Stephen Moffat went on record in an interview to say that because Chris had said to him over dinner or lunch or wherever they'd went to discuss it, I don't want to be involved. Stephen Moffat said, I thought there was an element of that would be slightly disrespectful because they'd already included him in flashback clips when all the doctors come to do whatever they were doing, and then to push an extra bit. And it was just, I think it was Moffat's decision to say, I thought it was.
Why
a
would
bit
it be disrespectful, though? Why? Why would it
Well,
be disrespectful?
ask Stephen, but that's what he said in the interview. He thought
Well,
it was
Stephen's not very good at making decisions, is he? He's not very good.
No, but
I mean,
I-
he
I-
decided to
Simon.
take the War Doctor,
Simon.
for God's sakes. Why did he
Simon.
take the War Doctor?
Simon, what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I think I get it, kind of thing, because at the end of the day, he is an actor. He's an actor of some stature, and he'd made it quite clear that he'd moved on from Doctor Who, and he didn't want to be part of the 50s. He'd made that very, very clear. And so, yeah, they absolutely could have done it probably, because they might have had a release form signed that would allow them to do that. But I get that. I think it would be rude somewhat if you were to, knowing somebody's respectful actor's.
Why would it be rude?
Respectable
I'm
actors'
sorry.
wishes if they then just walked all over them and said, "Well, I'm sorry, Chris, we're using your material anyway."
But the thing is, though, they have every right to use it. And why is it rude? I mean, it was his decision to leave the part. And it was his
No.
decision not to be part of the
Necessarily.
50th.
We'll have to.
Well,
we'll
we
have to
don't know.
talk about
We
that.
still don't know the full story
Oh,
behind
All
it.
right,
Another-
okay. I
another
don't
time.
know. I don't know.
You know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
season
Right.
24, guys. Season
yeah.
24.
Season 24. Yes, it is released hopefully in June of this year on Blu-ray as an 8-disc box set. Although those 4 stories, 14 episodes, and hours of special features previously released on DVD and Blu-ray, of course, it's all in there to create this unmissable package. I mean, you could say it's a part work in box set form, isn't it? They're all picking away at bit by bit, but genuinely, even though I'm watching them at the moment, I still can't wait. How about you,
Are you going to
Incubia?
get it, Dan?
Oh,
Are you going to get it?
I order them. Yes, I mean I've committed to the entire range.
Excellent.
I will buy every single one, just like I did with the VHS range,
Mm.
just like I did with the DVD range. But I wanted to ask Ian Kubiak about this summer. How excited are you about this, and what can you tell us about your plans for the summer?
Well, so I run a company, an events company called Cygnus Alpha Events, and whilst during lockdown, I've been doing a thing called Spearhead, which are like what we're doing now, but over Zoom, where I get Doctor Who actors, and everybody just has a Zoom chat with the actors as if it's a virtual Doctor Who convention. Who knows what we'll be able to do in the summer, but all I will say is I will be doing something to celebrate the release of season 24. It was what got me into being a Doctor Who fan. Sylvester McCoy inspired me to become an actor, which then went nowhere. So it has a lot of memories and a special place in my heart. So I will be doing something for it later this year.
Oh, good.
Watch this space, everybody. Your events have been very, very successful, haven't they? I've been to one, I've attended one, and found it. I mean, it's the sort of thing. Yes, we are in a situation. It's a situation very much like this, but slightly different, and it observes a lot of the customs of traditional conventions. I think you've kept the convention experience alive, but it's got something else unique about it too. And I know you're constantly innovating with the format, aren't you? Thinking of different ways to tweak it, and little gimmicks here and there, and incentives for people who do want to sign up whenever you do announce something. When you what do they call it? An early bird. That's the
Well, I mean, so like, look, when we first started to go into lockdown, there were lots of people, fantastically talented people doing lots of free stuff. But now we're almost into a year, and believe it or not, people watching, actors need to be paid, and that is the one thing I do. Everybody taking part, and that's why I charge for a ticket. £35. PayPal takes a cut of that as well. God bless your PayPal. And then the actors get paid, and for a day's worth of entertainment with various Doctor Who people, or for example, this weekend I'm doing a Blake Seven thing. But next month it is I Am the Master, and it's all tailored next month around the season 8 box set coming out. We've got Katie Manning, Richard Franklin, and a few more to announce, all with a master connection. So there's always a connection to it, but it's a chance for the fans to connect and to actually ask a question or have a chat. And whereas if you go to like one of these big events where it's literally, can I have your autograph? Yep, that's £25, and then you moved on. But whereas this is more laid back, and you're in your home and you have a cup of tea or coffee and a slice of cake, and it's lovely, and I love doing it, and it's a chance to bring something to people, and it's another form of entertainment. I think this is a new form of entertainment, is connecting with those celebrities or actors, writers, directors, whoever, from the comfort of your own home. Not everybody can. Like JT, you were saying, can't we have an event outside of London because I can't get to the BFI, I can't get to London? Well, maybe we're now going to have a series of events where they literally come to you in the home. It's interesting, but personally, I hope we can go back to having real events. And
so do I.
And I've been very fortunate to see young children come up to Sylvester McCoy or to Paul McGann, and they know that's Doctor Who. It's like, you know, and that's beautiful, and I'm sure we'll have many moments like that. But you know, we've got to make do, and that's what I've done with Spearhead, and also this Sunday with the Blake 7 event, and also it's an opportunity to get your merchandise signed, because all the actors will sign. All it does is goes through special delivery. So the stuff comes to me, I put it in lovely boxes, it goes to them, comes back, and then back to the owners. And you know, it's very small, very intimate, and hopefully it will, you know, people have enjoyed it. I've not had any complaints yet.
It sounds very reminiscent of how conventions used to be before they became the monsters that they are in today. Because certainly in the 80s and in the 90s, when the show was off air, you would go to a convention and you would meet up with people. And we didn't have emails or messaging or anything like that back then. And some of the time you would write to people to keep in touch, or you would just see them at a gig. And there was more of a feeling at conventions back there, but I really, really miss today, because you were meeting up with people. You were sitting with, I mean, you know, we used to sit with the actors over breakfast, over lunch, over dinner, in the bar. Some of the stories Nick Courtney used to tell us, God love us, he would entertain us for bloody hours with gossip. All these wonderful people that are no longer with us. And, you know, there's a difference and an advantage there that people who organise conventions like yourself have of making that intimate feel over this technology, because yes, you go to the Comic Cons and all the conventions today, and they're not the same. You know, I might be looking through rose-colored, but they're not the same, because all everybody ever wants to do is make money. Is supplement income, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely two. Apart from my organisation, there are two other organisations out there who I would say are not in it for the money. They are in it for fandom and putting on great events. And I'll plug them here, and that's Phantom Films especially. I think they are fantastic with what they do, and the guys behind Hooverville in Derby, the Hoovers. You know, both those organisations are fantastic, and now hopefully I could be, you know, something like that. You know, to offer a chance of for what I want to do is to give people the opportunity that I've had to be able to go and meet your doctor, your companion, and have your photo taken with them, and have and to create memories. And that
it's a very definite idiosyncratic product that you've got through Cygnus Alpha events, little things that are particular to you and that brand, and you've got a hand-picked team of people, a close team of people who work around you and support you doing this, haven't you? So it's very much, let's say, a family business, but it's got that attention to detail, a bit of TLC that some of the corporate. I do rely on people helping out on the day, and I guess the beauty of doing a virtual event is that it's, you know, I don't have to necessarily rely on people to have. You say that it's easier, but actually it's not.
It's not.
The only difference really is that I'm not having to book a hotel or a venue and book people's travel. You know, everything else, you know, I've got to create, you know, now I have to create a backdrop like this. I still have to get the photos for people to sign. Yeah, thank you. You know, there's still all the stuff that goes behind the scenes in creating a convention or Doctor Who event, as well as, you know, I work full time, so it takes.
I understand. Totally understand, mate. Totally.
So buy your tickets, people. Buy your tickets. Come meet your heroes.
Yes,
you heard the man. Buy your tickets.
There will be links to Cygnus Alpha. All of Ian's social media contact information will be in the description of this video, and over on the Type 40 Facebook page and in the Facebook group, everywhere. So when Ian does announce something concrete, you'll be the very first to know, and you won't miss out on your chance to have whatever the season 24 experience will be with Ian there. It's whenever the box set is released, it's kind of academic, isn't it? You know you're going to get that whatever. It'll either sort of amp you up for it or celebrate it after the fact.
I just want to pick up on something, Dan, that somebody's just put in the chat. Mega Neurobyte. They should do a convention for people like me who live a long way from big venues, don't have the money, and would have a panic attack in a large crowd. Yeah. Absolutely. I think these virtual events are the answer to that, actually. And I'm not saying that as somebody who's you know, trying to promote their own brand or event or anything, but I think these are you know, you've got that safety of you're in your own environment, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, all you have to do is click the button, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Maybe they'll have both. You know, when all this stuff is finished.
Well, that's
and
what I
we
was
go
just
out
about to say. That's a
and,
great. I mean, as part of some of the roles I do, job-wise, the thing that pay the mortgage,
Yeah.
we're now looking at doing everything virtually. Of course, all the events and productions that we're doing are virtual. However, there is the side effect there that in the future, if we ever go and are able to do safely a live event, we will be broadcasting it to those that can't get out. And,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it'll be the same for Doctor Who conventions. I mean, when you think about some of the things that a lot of fans have missed out on, Paul McGann's first convention appearance at Panopticon, Colin Baker coming back, Liz Slate, all these wonderful things. You could have, if we'd had the technology, we could have. Those things may happen again in the future, where you get a first or whatever, or whatever. I'm not saying that they will, but it would be nice to broadcast them both. And yeah, it's doable now. We have the technology, as somebody once said when they were rebuilding a person.
a man.
$6 million man, yeah.
$6 million man, yeah.
And as if by magic, we've got this DVD, well, this box set, this Blu-ray set, sorry, is a few months away. But we've just had word of another release from the Sylvester McCoy era. Well, another re-release. I don't know if you'd call this high definition, but it certainly is an improvement on the last cover to Andrew Cartmell's acclaimed book Script Doctor, which gets re-released early in February from 10 Acre Films. They've picked up the rights to various genre-related books, I understand. Yeah. And this is seen as a seminal Doctor Who book. I've got an earlier edition of it. Mm-hmm. It was out of print for a very long time. I think there was a new edition around 18 months, 2 years ago, which may have sold out again. But yeah, I thought this was great, and I love that cover. It really evokes the late 80s and Smash Hits magazine, that kind of thing.
Well, this is a book that, for the conversation we were having earlier, Andrew is very honest in this book about his frustrations over Series 24, because it wasn't what he wanted or what he saw, and he had to play with what he was in, and it brings out that whole thing. I mean, Ian, you were saying about nobody cared. By God, they cared. And this was the book that actually shows you that every single member of that team in 1987, when they were filming the series, cared, but was frustrated because of behind the scenes.
The BBC didn't care. The BBC.
Well, no, they didn't, care. And we know that. We know that. But so did the staff. The production team knew that, and they were committed to bring the best piece of television that they could with so many restrictions. And this book is a must-read for anybody, because it's very honest. From Andrew, it shows that unless it's changed from the original edition that I've got, it shows the honest truth about what was going on in that period when he came on board and was literally given a desk and a chair and told, we've got to get this in by next week.
And it's quite a group effort as well, because there's a section running through the middle. In fact, I think there could be two sections of photographs, which I believe were donated essentially to the book by Sophie Aldred, by people like Ben Aranovich and Dominic Glynn, by people who were on the show at the time and who took these behind-the-scenes pictures. So obviously the BBC don't own them, and this is an unofficial book. That could be why Andrew was able to be so honest about within the pages. I don't know. It probably is the reason why, but it is seen as being one of the, certainly of the books based on the 1980s. Those sort of latter years of the show, it is the book to read, the account of things to read.
It's refreshingly honest. Even back then, when it first came out, you sympathise more, which is brilliant. And if you read it now, superb piece of history.
Talking about superb pieces of history and Doctor Who in print, I want to remind you all, yes, you've got to go and look for this. This was released a few days ago. This was our interview, myself and Simon, speaking with Chris Ekeleos about his amazing contribution to the Target book range in particular, but his entire career as I'd say, peerless sci-fi and fantasy artist.
That's fair enough.
He really is one of the leading names in that field as an illustrator, as a painter, as a graphic designer, and we spent a good 2 or 3 hours with Chris, didn't we? We geeked out.
We'd probably still be there. We'd given half a chance. We'd still be talking to him now.
This is up on the Podcatcher feed now. This is absolutely everywhere. We're now fully loaded. All those people saying, "Oh yes, I can see you're on Podbean." but why aren't you on Spotify? We are everywhere now. On TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Music, absolutely everywhere. And Pandora in America for people over there. We don't get Pandora here, but you've got it over there. And every time we add some new destination, some new string to this bow, then I'll make sure that all of the information is in the on the social media, in all the descriptions to all the shows. Yes, we're expanding bit by bit, and there'll also be a video version of this up on this very channel in the near future. Yeah, I know. The excitement never ends, everybody. The excitement never ends. Let's check in with the chat and see what they're all seeing. Need to go, says Daniel Leach. Great stream. Thank you, Daniel. Always good to see you.
It's Daniel,
Duncan Shaw says, I've been to 4 Madame Tussauds in my trips I've taken. I've always wanted to go to Madame Tussauds, particularly when the 2 Tom Bakers were there, the Megalos Tom Baker.
Oh, I remember. I did a school trip when the Megalos doctor was there. That was just fantastic. And the Marshman and Romana. That was just brilliant. That was. Loved seeing that.
Yeah, it was a great exhibition. That was
really good exhibition.
K9 with his lopsided head.
K9. I don't think they made K9 out of wax. I could be wrong. But
I remember knocking it, sort of wood thing. Yeah. Oh, right. But yeah.
And I remember they'd even got a little reconstruction of the Sontaran, the Sontaran control room. It's just brilliant.
That was.
Garbage here says that he wanted to do the one in Cardiff, but there were months and months waiting list, and it also wasn't cheap, let alone the 3 hours driving time. Yeah, it was a good location in many respects, but obviously if you live further away, then it may have seemed quite remote. I don't know. Yeah, could be onto something there. And garbage.
It's a long way from Scotland to get to Cardiff. A lot of money that was as well.
PD Rich is talking here about he's been on the pitch of Wembley interviewing Westlife. You get your sea legs. That sounds very unlikely, PD Rich. But yeah.
Which Wembley? The original one or the new one? I'm interested now.
The original.
And what's Westlife got to do with Doctor Who anyway?
I don't know. Maybe one of them's going to be the next Doctor.
Can I just pick up on something, Dan? This is the ongoing thing with the Rabbi about season 23, the CGI in Verbois, because I noticed in the comments he asked earlier, where is it? It's there. It's on the special edition, the kind of the 90-minute feature film version that they did of it. But you just can't tell the difference. It was one of my complaints at the time. I was like, was it really worth putting CGI on? Because you can, and that's why the Rabbi says in his comments, you couldn't see the difference. You can't see the difference, Rabbi, because there isn't any difference. Don't ask me why they did it. Your guess is as good as mine.
Simon, did they not remove the tracksuit cord from the Vervoid?
Oh, I doubt it. I honestly don't know. I know they replaced the ship, and the replacement of the ship isn't bad, the Hyperion 3. But the black hole, we're back to the black hole. The black hole of Tartarus was literally, they just did a CGI version of the version that they did in the original. Why bother?
Why bother? That's very odd.
Talking about CGI, it wouldn't be A Type 40 Live without we took time to look at some pretty pictures before we sign off with it. Here's the latest work from our friend the Prydonian. More Daleks, everybody.
That one on the left is stunning. I love the red top.
The Weetabix Daleks.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what he's doing now. I think he's done virtually every Dalek that was ever screened. He's created his own Daleks, and now he's looking at obscure merchandise and promotional material to bring those Daleks to CGI as well, to make them look like they could just roll off the screen and exterminate you. I like how the one on the left has got one red light and one blue light there on the top.
Is that, I can't remember where that's from. Was that Simon? Is that from a Target book or something? I would have been confused.
Well, there's certainly never been. It never had two different colour lights, as far as I recall. I'm guessing it's Touring and Labour. I don't know. It's sort of hedging its bets. But the Dalek itself is partially from Terry Nation's original Dalek that he had. Right. And it was a photo that appeared, I think, in the Radio Times 10th anniversary special. And people like the Weetabix cards, the Weetabix artists grabbed hold of it and used that as the model. That's why it was never a TV Dalek. It's just got this legacy now. It keeps popping up everywhere because it was one of Terry Nation's own Daleks.
David Bowie Dalek.
I remember the two different lights, the one red and one blue, when I was a kid, because I was confused by that. And
Where is that then, JT?
It's not the PG Tips. I've just checked. I have no idea. It's either Weetabix. It's definitely not PG Tips. It might have been an annual, or it might have been in a.
Right, we need somebody to tell us this, because I genuinely don't ever remember seeing two different colour lights.
Darren Bradley, I think that's a cue for you. You've probably got them somewhere in your archive. Let us know where we've seen these two. It's definitely familiar.
It's definitely
the one on
when I was a kid.
right. That one is the Planet of the Daleks one, because of the purple ears. So that's Planet of the Daleks, Supreme Dalek.
Yeah.
It's the Terry Nation
Yeah,
Daleks.
it's Terry Nation Dalek. Yeah, but I don't remember. I'm sure it doesn't have different colour lights. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right on that. It's not the prop, but I have seen the artist in a comic strip also when I was a kid, because I was confused. I remember reading something and I was confused. Why has it got a red and why has it got a blue? So it's either an annual or it won't be the weekly.
Somebody tell us.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
I'm not going to sleep.
It'll be from the 70s, everybody, if you know.
Not going to sleep.
Let's know. We're going to need to know these things. Another thing that's caught my eye. Last week we looked at some of Clayton Hickman's amazing colorized images, didn't we, from black and white stories? We've looked at those a couple of times.
Yeah, he's really good at that.
He's been at it again, but this time it's not actually a photograph that he's been looking at. He's been looking at the telesnaps. Has anybody seen this? So this is a standard Doctor Who telesnap that was taken on the off-air, the camera recordings, weren't they, by John Cura during the 1960s. So whilst the episodes were actually in production, they were taken, weren't they, to showcase the work of different directors on the show. Mm-hmm. But over the intervening decades, they've become the only real visual source that we've got for some of these sadly now missing from the archives episodes. So here's a standard telesnap. This is what they look like usually. Mm-hmm. Clayton Hickman, he's been at them with his toolbox, and oh my goodness,
wow.
That is the result.
Wow.
It's got the lights that are reflecting off them.
Yeah.
It's got smoke in the background as well.
That was my reaction too. I mean, it is like Michael Craze is sat there in front of you, isn't it?
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. That's such a good use of technology. That's not just colorizing. That's reinventing.
That's a process. That's several steps, isn't it, Simon? Several steps over and over and over.
How you do that? Is it all manual drawing? Is it literally just taking
Photoshop, mate? Photoshop.
And how long would it
I think there's a bit of everything is in there. Yeah, I agree. And there's probably all sorts in there.
Yeah.
To go from that, because that is literally the only source we've got.
He's sharpened it as well, isn't he? Sharpened it. You see, it's pretty clear.
Well, it literally looks redrawn. I'm sure that is literally redrawn.
Yeah.
Very, very, very impressive.
Just imagine a whole episode done like that and in colour. Wow. Maybe one day.
One day. Who would have thought it?
I don't doubt it will happen at some point.
Yeah, it will. It will
happen. Go back to those Daleks. I can see in the comments. Duncan Shaw says the one on the left, that's the one with the different coloured ears, looks like a Dalek from the Peter Cushing movies. That's because it is a Dalek from the Peter Cushing movies, and Terry Nation grabbed it. He grabbed 2 or 3, I think, from the movies, and that is certainly one of the movie Daleks. That's why it's there. Yep.
There we are. It's made from the spare parts of the Dalek movie. Says PD Rich there. Lots of people coming in with that.
But we still want to know where the different colour ears have come from, please.
It's gonna really frustrate me now because I don't know. Yeah, I remember it.
You don't know what's going on.
Oh no, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the 70s with comic strips and stuff. So it could be anywhere.
Could be absolutely anywhere. More things I've discovered on my travels this week is this as well. This little bit of Hartnell merchandise. Here, Barnaby. Here's your first Doctor here. Looking very stately on
stately and stern. That was him.
Fantastic job. That's a money box there with where it's Dr. Who. Notice, not the full word. I've never liked it when they do that. But I just love everything about this. I love the fact that it is sort of slightly chubby and chunky and quite bright blue, and the packaging. I mean, I don't know exactly. I think that's 1965. It says on the bottom. Yeah, 1965.
From the
made
side,
in
it
a
looks
tin
like
factory in
juice
Manchester or
boxes,
something.
doesn't it? From the side, it looks like juice boxes. You know, the little box that you get with the juice in it.
Doctor Who juices. Stick a straw on the top.
But I wondered if any of you have ever seen this before, because I hadn't. This
I've
was
never
on
seen
No, I
that
haven't
before.
seen this one.
Never seen that before. I'm quite impressed with the TARDIS because very often in those early '60s toys, they just look, and the Daleks are the same. They look absolutely nothing like them. They're very poor renditions. So actually, that's a pretty good rendition of a TARDIS, to be honest. They've even got the St John's sign on the front in the right place.
It was actually, as many other things were then, just based on a regular police box. That's a lovely copy of. I've actually seen one in front of me, which I wasn't allowed to touch, as part of a actual collector. And it was in Moffat in Scotland, here in Scotland, and there was a collection of memorabilia of science fiction, and Doctor Who played a big part of it. And that was in one because I actually asked if I could buy it, and of course the collection was not for sale. But the box there was pristine, and I was so wanted to go. What is it? But yeah, it's lovely. It's the only time I've ever seen it.
If you
Probably
notice on
made
the-
from probably made from lead, for the kids. Things like that, health and safety back in the 60s.
I think that's what it is.
In there
The
as well.
picture on the top, the one on the right-hand side, it just says police money box, and it's got the 999 numbers down the side, and then on the right-hand side we've got it branded as the Doctor Who money box. So we get this now, don't we, with toys and merchandise, sometimes getting a respray, getting re-stickered as other things. And this could be an early example of the same kind of conceit.
You certainly did in the 60s and into the early 70s, but of course now the police box is no longer owned by the police, but is owned by the British Broadcasting Corporation. A registered trademark.
Apparently so. I keep forgetting this. Yeah, but you'd think that they would. They wouldn't have let that go. The police, because
the police did try to take them to court, and the BBC won because the courts realised that the TARDIS is, or the police box is now more associated with the TARDIS and the Doctor than it is with the police.
Indeed, it is indeed. Bang up to date with new merchandise as well. This has just been released, which means that the Type 40 review of Revolution of the Daleks is on the way. So it's just come out on Blu-ray. People have been getting them in the post now, those who've pre-ordered it, with these they're calling these art cards. I think that one of the Daleks is an art card, the others are just photos. But yeah, this is the latest Doctor Who Blu-ray that's just come out. We'll be reviewing this on the podcast very, very soon. Those people are asking me what I thought of the special. I can let you know now. Oh yeah. Deathly silence. Oh dear.
The mood just goes.
Yeah.
It does indeed. So
Moving on.
Let's cheer ourselves up with more pretty pictures, something nice to look at. Oh, what? How on earth it keeps happening? I've no idea.
Those tentacle gremlins are awful.
At it again. Okay, yes, this is the final picture that caught my eye. Believe it or not, here we are. Okay, there's ice and snow outside. We're all freezing out. We're all freezing cold. The spring, let alone the summer, seems so far away. But here we are in an English country garden where a plucky Doctor Who fan, everybody, has made their shed into a TARDIS. And look at that sight as you open the door. Absolutely beautiful. I'll be honest, everybody, I'm not a gardener. My garden is in a bit of a state. But when I get it how I'd like it to look in my head, I think that this is what I need to strive for. This is the look for my outdoor man cave. What do you think? What do you think?
That's absolutely magnificent, and you just cannot tell from the angle that the way it's been shot. You can't tell where the room is. It's just brilliant. Actually,
I've just worked it out.
A photograph, isn't it?
Because Ian Kubiak looks like he could be in a shed there. Is this yours? Is this where you're actually broadcasting to us from this time?
It is. Yeah. There's one of the Doctor Who illustrators for Doctor Who magazine, Lee Sullivan? He's got a full-sized police box TARDIS in his garden, which is falling apart, and he's put some lovely photos on his Facebook page of it, and yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, I want one. I want two.
Absolutely beautiful. If we all wish hard enough, all the cold weather it'll just subside. It'll just go away, and before you know, we'll be out of lockdown, won't we? And we'll have the fresh air in our nostrils, the feeling of grass beneath our feet.
Next year we're looking at next year, next spring.
The support group. Cheer ourselves up. People in the chat saying goodbye. I've got a lovely TARDIS keychain from there. Really nice stuff. Yeah, good to see you here, Vanessa, as always. And somebody's asking where they can get a copy of that picture. I don't know what. I have no idea what you mean. Yes, that does wrap us up for now. Oh, Kelly Lynch says she has a Dalek salt and pepper set. Haven't seen one of those. We're going to need a picture of that, Kelly. But yeah, thanks for being here as always, gentlemen. It's been a riot this afternoon, this early evening. Thanks for joining me. Ian Kubiak, we're going to need all those contact details as soon as you know. Let us know, and we'll do our bit to tell our corner of the internet and our listeners and our viewers out there how they can get on board with this. And so they're going to need months, aren't they, to get their Sylvester McCoy cosplay sorted to your event.
Indeed.
Somebody, can you get those umbrellas? Can you actually order those or get them custom made? JT, you've got one right behind you. Where did you get that from?
I got mine from Alex and the team at the Who Shop, and I have no idea if they've still got them in stock. We'll have to ask her.
Maybe. Ian, where are you going to pop up this weekend? Ian, the Mega Geek, Ian, I mean. Have you done any live streams? Where can people see or hear more from you?
I was on Culture Casino's live stream on Sunday. Probably go back on there on this Sunday, and I've been on Mr. Brown's one as well, but nobody watches that. Only a few
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown was in the chat earlier on.
Yeah. So he's a lovely fella. But no, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just chilling. I've got loads of editing to do, so can't really do anything. Yeah.
Well, he's been backward and coming forward. If you look along the bottom, if you subscribe to the Mega Geeks channel, the Rebecca Gold it's called, you'll find his web series Rebecca Gold, the award-winning web series Rebecca Gold, and you'll find Bad Day. That's a full-length movie, isn't it? The movie Bad Day. You've got The Killing Zone. He's moving from the late 90s. And you've got, what else? Fallen Angels. Yeah. Various other things. If you like seeing gorgeous girls kicking people in the head, get over to that channel, like and subscribe. Barnaby, what are you up to for the rest of the week? Just staying in the warmth, or you?
Staying in the warmth. I've actually started narrating my own audiobooks, which you can find on my channel. Only one thing on this.
Is it a Doctor Who book?
No, it is a Warhammer 40,000 audiobook that I narrated and edited myself. So yeah, if you just type in On Mournful Wings by Simon Spurrier onto your YouTube search bar, you'll find it there, and give it a like if you like it. So hopefully fantastic. I should get a couple more done. I've got quite a few. There are loads of short stories that have never been audioized, if that's the word.
But the other people do it with you as well, or is it just your voice?
Just me at the minute, because my housemate is not an actor, so it's I'm only one actor in the house right now. So it's me doing all the voices. So that as you can.
Well, if you give us all the details.
Sorry, Barnaby. Simon who?
Simon Spurrier. I think he did. He's more into comics now, but he did Number Cruncher. He did Motherload. It's all sort of like Boom comics. I think he did a lot with them.
I do know the name. Has he done any Doctor Who novels?
No, you think he was Simon?
He did actually.
All right, thanks, Simon.
No, Simon Spurrier did do a Doctor Who comic book with John. I think it was like a War Doctor one with Matt Smith's era. Yes, he did do a.
Okay.
One.
So look out for that. Yes, well, we're going to need all the information where people can go and track that down. That we can send the message out and people can hear your audio book. We'll get behind that, everybody. And JT, Simon, we've got a podcast coming out later in the week. Us talking about K9 and Company.
K9 and Company.
Yeah. So that's our very next episode of the Type 40 podcast. Listen out for that. We had a good time talking about that, didn't we? Yeah. We all love K9.
Yes, that intro is very, very 80s. I mean, we look at the that intro. I mean, we talk about Sylvester McCoy one being 80s. K9 and Company is 80s to 1,000.
That 60 seconds is the 80s encapsulated. The entire 80s is in that first 60
I think on the podcast we do a good 10 minutes just on that alone. That'll be up on the channel, as is Teleport to Blake 7 podcast. 4 episodes. This is the podcast that we put out every month on the 7th of every month. It's on the podcatchers and here on the Spacebooks YouTube channel. Ian Kubiak was a guest in episode 4 talking about his wonderful conventions. We've also had various other people across episodes 1, 2, and 3. John Ainsworth from Big Finish. We've had Howard Blake, who creates all those wonderful CGI augmented versions of Blake 7 episodes. And we've got, Lily Mae Sherratt and Graham Robertson. They were on the first episode. Graham from Colt Edge, of course, having a good old chat, a good yarn about all things Blake 7. If you've enjoyed this live stream, you're thinking, God, I need to get more of this in my life. The entire first season of Type 40 Live, that's also in a playlist up on this very channel. Hours and hours of us rambling on about things, some of which are very firmly in the past already, but some of them are evergreen, such as our discussion on the 12 Faces, the fantasy repeat season, the 12 Faces. That was particularly good. And our chat with Bob Baker and Paul Tams there about K9, about the past, present, and future of K9. We're obsessed with K9 here. And our Doctor Who Day celebration. Of course,
so we should be.
Doctor Who talk. Who wouldn't be? Who in their right mind wouldn't be? Yes, thank you all for joining us this time. We'll be back again soon. Lots more planned. Keep an eye on the channel. Please like and subscribe. I forgot that right to the very last minute. I always forget to ask people. Yeah, please like the video, because it does matter. It does count. And subscribe to the channel. And yes, over on the Rabbi from Another Planet, right now you can catch Fila Betkin talking about heaven knows what Fila Betkin's talking about.
Lord
I guarantee it could go anywhere in time and space. True. Get over there if you haven't already. Always a good laugh to be had on the Rabbi's channel. He'll take you through for the next couple of hours. But for now, that does wrap us up with Type 40 Live.
Bye, Spacebookers.
Bye, everybody.
Get ready for 24.